I'm Supermoon Tarot, and in today's video, we're going to be looking at steps you need to take to increase your intuition. This is a fantastic question suggested by L. Riley, and get used to hearing that name because L. Riley suggested like 4 or 5 fantastic questions that I am for sure doing, so thank you so much, L. Riley. If anybody wants to throw in their own personal suggestions in the comments, I'm always looking at the comments and I will be happy to go over your question and make a whole entire video about it because I love it. Thank you guys again so much for all the suggestions. Anyways, let's talk about intuition for 1 second. This is an incredibly important ability that a lot of times we can overlook in life because the mind tends to be louder than our emotions, than even our body. You know what I mean? These parts of ourselves are all important, but we often give mind and logic a little too much power, and there needs to be a nice healthy balance because when our minds, too much in the driver's seat, we start to overthink things. Sometimes it even works against us because it thinks that it needs to be working all the time. It thinks it's the only one in charge. And intuition, oh my goodness, intuition is like, as I like to see it, the unseen mind. So this is something that helps us see into the future. It is something that just helps us understand without a doubt why something is wrong or right based on who we're interacting with, the best possible outcome, what we can benefit from it. Is it good? Is it bad? What does that feel like? So let's increase that intuition. As you can see, we've got 4 groups in front of us. I want you to pick the group that you resonate with most. We've got group number 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to give you a moment to pick the group that you're vibing with. Now that you've picked the group that you connect with most, you can go down to the description where you can go to your marked timestamp and skip to that part. But let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1, let's look at the steps you need to take to increase your intuition by looking at the cards. We've got Flying Oracle card in reverse, 4 of Swords upright, 7 of Swords in reverse, the Devil in reverse, and 10 of Swords in reverse. Okay. Oh my goodness, this is so easy. This is super easy peasy lemon squeezy. We love that. So we're going to be talking about over here something to keep in mind so you can best... Hi. Hi, it's... There is a finch. Oh my goodness, sorry. I'm so sorry. I keep being visited every day by birds. I don't understand why, but I'm very appreciative. Okay. Where was I? That was so distracting. I loved it. That was the best kind of distraction I have. They keep coming to visit me and then just staring at me. And I don't have anything, so they're not visiting me and then borrowing anything from me. I don't have any bird seed out. I'm also not in a position where it's easy for them to come visit me. So I'm very appreciative. I'm very super appreciative. This is definitely very spiritual for me. So anyways, going back to your intuition, this is the benefits of your intuition being really high. Anyways, so back to this. This is what you can keep in mind in order to understand where you're starting from and what you're overcoming. We're going to be talking about the obstacle in your way. That's going to be super easy to solve, barely any effort, very passive way of solving it, and then proactively what you can do in order to exercise your intuition. And this is also super passive and easy. Again, like I said, easy peasy lemon squeezy. I'm super excited for you. So let's start off with the 10 of Swords in reverse. The 10 of Swords is actually a huge compliment to you and kind of getting you ready to brace yourself for an intense level of intuition. This implies that this is not going to be a sprinkle of you, one day having more of an inkling or another day just having a deep sense of knowing, or maybe you had a cool dream that you feel like might mean something. This is like a giant leap into like psychic abilities, having a deep, deep, deep sense of knowing things about people without with just by like looking at their face and other cool stuff. So I'm very excited for you. And it also does imply that you're actually right on the horizon. You're almost there. You're right at this huge transition, but you're basically being stopped by yourself. Because if it was upright, this would imply that, one, it indicates that logic, your mind, is the main problem. It's taking up think of your brain and the way you work is like a car, and everyone takes turns driving the car. Yourself, your logic, and your mind, your heart, your intuition, everyone's just kind of bouncing around and saying what needs to take control. But in this particular case, unfortunately, your mind has literally tied everybody else up and is the only one driving it. And this is all, again, unintentionally. And with the Ten of Swords, this implies your mind and logic is taking hold out of fear and kind of afraid to go into the unknown. And so it's holding you back. You're basically being held back by it. This could be a couple reasons. One of the reasons could be you've exercised your mind so much, it's a muscle reflex, and you can't help go to it because it's all you've known and trained yourself to know. Think of this and consider this. When we ask ourselves a question, our mind is the loudest and fastest to respond. So we respond back and go, okay, thank you for that guidance or advice, or, oh yeah, you're right. This is why often people struggle with fear and anxiety, because it is the loudest and the fastest. But you have to sit and kind of wait a while before you hear from your heart and your body, and you have to give that time and train that to be just as strong as a muscle as your mind. So in the society we live in, it's super normal for all of us to have our mind heavily trained before everything else, so this makes sense if this is kind of your go-to unintentional muscle reflex. The other is you kind of can't help it because it's a little too scary taking the risk of going into the unknown without feeling super confident into your intuition. But consider this. If your intuition is like an ocean, right? And your safety net or your life preserver is your mind, it's easy to be like, well, if I hold on to this, I know I will float and I'll be okay, but it's still really scary out there. But you could potentially become a mermaid. And a mermaid isn't unaware that there are dangers out there, isn't unaware that it's super big and open, that it can be overwhelming. They are aware of that, but this beautiful mermaid version of yourself is excited to dive into all the different, they can go up, they can go down, they can go left and right, and there's so many opportunities and possibilities, and it's exciting, and they want to swim through every single one. So consider taking on that mindset, but also don't beat yourself up that you have some muscle reflex kicking in, preventing you essentially. You want to basically allow your mind to not take such a predominant voice in your head, basically. Then we go to the Devil card in reverse. This talks about your obstacle being in the way besides just your mind. It's talking about you having specific habits. We'll just call them unhealthy or unhelpful habits that have been quite detrimental to you. And they are used as a form of, it's interesting, they're not actually being used as a distraction. These habits have come into your life because you think, and the version of you that's, making this happen thinks it's going to solve this kind of like empty void in your heart or in your life. I'm trying to give examples. Sorry, I'm tongue twisted a little bit right now. That intuition is really the thing missing. You want to connect to it. You are naturally trying to find solutions to it, but the solutions you have are actually more of like a distraction or an obstacle. You could see it that way. When we have these type of habits, the best way to, I don't want to give too specific because sometimes people's habits can be kind of like triggering for them, and I don't want to upset anybody or, you get what I'm saying. But the best way to identify them is they are the type of habits that would be either binging too much or restricting too much. And often it's a pair of both. It's like taking on too much of one thing and then pulling away from it too much. Either way, consider when you do this activity, do you feel like you're completely unable to pull away from it? It has control over you. And you do it because you're hoping it will help fulfill something else, but it just never seems to fulfill this void. That's the unhealthy habit. That's the thing. And remember, the void you're feeling is the lack of intuition. And you should give yourself a compliment that you're trying to take care of yourself subconsciously and fix it. Unfortunately, it's not the right thing that's going to help you, but you shouldn't beat yourself up about it. You don't know what's going to help yourself in the moment without trial and error. But unfortunately, during one of those trials, they, kind of took charge and precedence. And that's not always our fault. I do want to keep in mind we do live in a society where many things, what can you do? There's many things that have been built to be something you keep going back to over and over again uncontrollably. So again, continue to give yourself love and more credit because it's not always your fault. Do you see what I'm saying? Sometimes you need to take ownership, but in this case, it's ownership that it's happening, but you shouldn't be mad at yourself because there's a lot of reasons why it is happening, both out of trying to improve yourself, and it's not your fault that those things are kind of calling your name so much. So I just want you to consider that. Anyways, next thing. Seven of Swords in reverse. Seven of Swords. Sorry, I jumped around too much. By the way, I'm looking at the time. Don't worry, we're going to get through this pretty quickly. So the way to overcome this habit is so easy. Essentially, you're just going to walk away from it and take more focus on the things that you're going to proactively do. As you fulfill these kind of unhealthy habits, like you just don't do them and you pay attention to this more, this will naturally go away because you're going to be fulfilling the void. If you do find yourself accidentally falling into them again, just give yourself love and tell yourself, I'm trying to do my best. I can't help that this is my reflex. I will overcome this. It's okay, but I am going to pull away from this now. But super easy. You just kind of walk away from it. Who doesn't love that? Now let's get into more of the proactive way you're going to be facing your intuition. So one of the methods you're going to be understanding is that when we have a Seven of Swords in reverse situation, it's showing us that you're still not really clear what are your methods to approach when using your intuition. This often pops up when we're talking to that version of yourself that has taken on other people's advice. This is think of this as when you're a kid and you unintentionally have been given ways of handling problems because you're kind of like an empty sponge, an open sponge, empty sponge. I'm so tongue twisted right now. And essentially your parents project onto you, this is the way you solve the problem, right? And when this pops up, this is when you're at a stage in your life, and keep in mind, this pops up many times in our life because we're always going back and re-editing ourselves and figuring out who we really are and overcoming what we had projected on us when we were younger. But this is a stage in your life when you're going, well, what works for me and what doesn't work for me? So this is a bit of trial and error of you just testing things out. Now, when we talk about tools, it could be anything from the perspective you have. It could be maybe every time you have a question, you stop and you think. Sometimes some psychics really believe in the idea that you can either see a color or feel a feeling, and maybe you need to slow down and connect to that idea. It's just about trying different things out and figuring out what works and doesn't work. I would highly recommend doing what you normally do, because it doesn't mean every habit that you've had projected upon you is necessarily unhelpful or bad. Some of those might still actually be useful, and you can figure out how to enhance them or put your own spin on them. And then you can also look and be like, nope, all of them don't work for me. I need a total re-edit. And that's fine. But it's a bit of trial and error of in the moment asking yourself, is there an experiment I could do right now? Could I hold a crystal and ask a crystal to help me? Could I reach out to my guides? Could I ask a question right before I go to bed? I'm just giving you a ton of examples, but this is about asking yourself to try facing the situation in a different way, in an experimental way, and then figuring out what works and what doesn't work. I highly recommend keeping some sort of a notebook and kind of writing down in your experimental phase of like what's working, what's not working. But think of this as a strategy-oriented card. So when we talk about, if you're like, well, what tools? The tool is the strategy in which you're handling it. So focus on that term and that'll help give you some better guidance. Now, over here, super easy peasy. These are a bit of a kind of like confirmation card of the same thing. One, honestly, you just kind of need a lot of rest, a lot of sleep right now. This does not point to the moon or the high priestess card, implying that it's solely you're going to get all your intuition from your dreams. It's more of just like actually giving yourself a break is going to help you think clearer. But it does talk about the idea of being grounded. And this is when we get to our best form of guidance in the entire spread on a proactive note. So when we have the flying card in reverse, this talks about the idea of now is not the time for you to fly off into the astral plane or spiritually fly off. This is not a criticism. This actually talks about the idea of Icarus and his wax wings, and when he flew off to the sun, unfortunately it melted them away because he wasn't ready. And it's great that he wanted to get there and you know, he had that sort of like gumption, but it's okay if he needed to take some more time and, you know, create a new pair of wings, the right pair of wings or something like that. In this case, and this is really interesting, when you get more into this stuff, you will find you think that you need to open your mind more and be more intuitive. It's like that's our default, and it's actually more about being grounded. You can get grounded in a ton of different ways. I'm actually going to be doing a video on it soon, like a really fun way to get grounded, and it involves like beauty techniques, which is fun. But the classical way you'll hear people be grounded is you want to sit down. You can do this outside. Actually, a lot of people highly recommend you go outside. You can either stand or sit. But if you're inside, that's fine. And you want to imagine roots coming out of the spine of your back or the bottom of your feet, going into the earth. If you are in a building or a house, you can imagine those roots stretching all the way through the different levels and reaching into the earth. And then when you reach that, you're going to imagine a light coming from the earth through any color you want, through your, roots that you've grown into your body, out through your head, and then you want to imagine that light showering out of your head back into the earth. You're really focused. I like to think of myself even like being a tree, and you're just like unmovable, totally conscious and quiet. This is going to be a super easy peasy method because the more grounded you are, the more, how do I express this? When we're really spiritually awoken, we're going to be pulled in a ton of different directions because when we're more spiritually awoken, we're like literally shifting dimensions and we're perceiving a lot more, and it can make us feel kind of scatterbrained. So this is your anchor. Ironically, we talked about letting go of the anchor, but this is your anchor so that as you fly around, it's a lot easier to process information and it doesn't kind of go over your head or make you go to your default safety net, which is your mind. And the funny thing is your mind in a weird way is not unlike the intuition where it feels like scattered all over the place. So you've got two things making you feel terribly scattered and all over the place. And we don't want that for you anymore. We want you to feel in control, conscious, excited about moving forward into this open, plain ocean of intuition. So super easy peasy. Keep in mind of how you've been holding yourself back, but you're almost there and it's going to be a huge positive shift. Be aware of what's been a distraction, why you've been distracting. Give yourself a break. You've been trying to do your best. Simply move away from that distraction by giving more attention to these techniques, which is all about testing and experimenting your strategy when exercising your intuition. Get plenty of sleep and work on grounding. Now is not the time to fully skyrocket, but the second you feel grounded, the more you do this, you will naturally elevate to the sun. So super cool. I'm excited for you. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, comment, subscribe. It helps out like you would not believe. Have a lovely day. I will look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2, let's look at those steps you need to take to increase your intuition by looking at the cards. We've got your Oracle card, Field of Dreams in reverse. Queen of Swords upright. That makes total sense. All right, I know exactly where this is going. 3 of Pentacles in reverse. Judgment upright. And Queen of Pentacles upright. My goodness. Okay, so this is so funny. The Queen of Pentacles, I just want to mention that she's kind of got some unique energy about her in this particular spread. For some of you, this is a figure that meant well. They are meaning to do well, and they are kind of pressing upon you certain beliefs they have or ideas, but we'll get more into those specifics in a second. But I'll be honest with you, I am very strongly getting that this is actually a spirit guide popping into your life and kind of really trying to connect with you and help you. There's a super chill energy about her. I can't give you more details than that. All I know is that she's just kind of like popping in and she really wants to help you with this, and she's very much actively reaching out, and the main reason why she's reaching out is because of the Judgment card. This is really interesting because personally, I believe that we all have some form of intuition and psychic abilities, and we're all capable of this. And I personally believe it's like all our ultimate destiny, along with many other dreams and hopes and stuff like that. But for you, it's super important. Like, your intuition has some deeper calling in life, which is really interesting. So this is going to basically make you have a deep sense of, or a deep self analysis, or whatever it's called. Like, you're going to be looking over yourself again and what you want to accomplish in life and who you are and what you want to represent and all that stuff, through intuition being the guidance. So this is like a huge awakening of who you are. Not just a spiritual awakening, this is more of an awakening of you as a person, which is really interesting. And she's kind of popping in and saying, like, how can I help you connect your intuition so you can connect to me and connect to all the decisions that will help you, that you can make, essentially. So I love that. That's so interesting. That's popping in. So first, let's start off with the Field of Dreams in reverse oracle card, because this is an important thing that's kind of prevented you from gaining your intuition. And by connecting to this, you will essentially naturally activate it. So this pops up when we are the dreams and hopes we have for the world and what we would like to accomplish have been pressed upon us by other people. Now, this could be anything. I see this confirmed again with the 3 of Pentacles in reverse. This is a group of people that you just don't naturally mix with. Now, this could be like arguments and stuff like that, but I'll be honest with you, I could have gotten a 5 of Wands or Swords in reverse situation. This just implies that you just don't naturally flow based on like how you work and your goals and your strategies. And this isn't inherently bad. It's just like, okay, you're not meant to mesh together. In fact, actually, this is something to consider when we are trying to achieve our dreams. There is no team, you don't work with the team. You're asking your own questions. And so when this is pressed upon you, this could be anything from just society saying you should want to work towards money. That's your only goal. Now, money's not a bad thing. I want to always put that out there. Money is just an experience like anything else, and you're more than welcome to have it. That's, you know what I mean? Like, we're not trying to push that away. But sometimes people can push this on us that are closer to us, like family members or even friends and stuff like this. And this is basically saying, this is happening, you need to stop and really ask yourself, are the things that you're pursuing in life, whatever they be, an occupation, who the person, maybe you've been told your whole life to be prim and proper, but in your heart you'd really like to be free and let go and be more silly and not really have a plan or an ultimate goal. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, this is saying what you currently are doing right now is not what you're most connected to, and somebody else made you think it's your dream when it's really their dream for you. And that's really important to note. So, Queen of Swords, super simple. Well, simple enough. This is when you kind of have a very honest truth session with yourself, and you ask these questions of yourself. Keep in mind the Queen of Swords is able to ask this unemotionally. So get yourself into a sort of meditative or grounded position where you can be non-emotional with yourself and not react so volatilely, if that is a position you're in. I don't think you are. I don't get that vibe. And you just say to yourself, okay, this is the thing I've been pursuing my whole life, and just really look at it like you would a painting. Write it down, look at it on the wall, and say, does this really make me happy? Is my gut reaction anxiety all the things I have to accomplish, or do I naturally get excited and can't wait I could spend hours and hours trying to achieve this or want more information on it. You get what I'm saying. And by asking these questions, this will help sort out what you want to do, what you don't want to do. Did you hear that? I heard like chimes. Anyways, so sorry about that. There was like noises going off and I accidentally shut my camera off. Going back to what we were saying. So what's throwing off your intuition is you've been led astray by someone else. So their thoughts have become your thoughts. And by becoming reconnected with what you really want to do and being honest about it, this is going to activate your natural intuition, which is great. I just want you to keep in mind that this is something that other people have been wanting for you with good intentions when we have the Queen of Pentacles. You know what I mean? They just want you to be as successful as they are. But as much as that's lovely and they mean no harm, dreams are meant to be a solitary, activity. And they are actually in turn not going to be the person you're in the long term. I'm going to be honest with you, going forward, get advice from what to do with your dreams. Not because of what they've done, but they just don't naturally think the way you think, approach things the way you think. And you would really, if you do need a mentor, which we have your spirit guide waiting in the wings, ready to work with you. They get you, they know you, they'll work the way you naturally flow. But this person, it would be better for you to find someone more like-minded in that way, because it'll be a lot easier. This other person isn't a bad person. These other people aren't bad people. You can send them love. It's just not everybody's meant to mesh on every single level. You know what I mean? So not a big deal, but I'm super excited for you to not only gain intuition, but kind of activate some big, what you were meant to do kind of, answers, which is really cool. And in turn, if you're open to it, your spirit guides are like really making themselves be known in this particular spread. As you activate your intuition, it'll be a lot easier to connect with them. So, and ask, and both anything, reach out to them and ask them, hey, I don't know what to do in the long term. I don't know what my dreams are. Could you help me? Could you give me a sign? And they're waiting for you, and they know how you work, and they will work with that. Anyways, if you enjoyed this reading, please consider giving it a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Have a lovely day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3, let's look at the steps you need to take to increase your intuition by looking at the cards. We have Coming to Life in reverse oracle card, 3 of Cups in reverse, 10 of Pentacles upright, the Hangman in reverse, and Temperance in reverse. Okay, interesting. So normally when I read tarot, I can see a very clear interweaving of ideas, but these are all very separate, which is fine. But I've got 5 separate things for you to consider practicing, which is great. So first, let's start with the Temperance card. I can see that your energy is out of balance. This can easily be fixed with things like chakra balancing meditations. You can even see people who can help do chakra work. If anybody is a Reiki master and watching this, feel free to comment below so you can guide people to work with you and help them with that. So mostly it's like an energy based thing. Something's out of whack. You can also find this out by there's a test where you basically get a pendulum, and pendulums don't have to necessarily be a crystal and like a string. It could be a string and a pointed object of any kind, and you essentially put it over the area, the chakra, laying down. Someone would need to do this over you. And you would, now the thing that's interesting is many people have their own interpretation with pendulums, which way it will go to signify either a yes or a no, or overactive or underactive. You'll figure out what works for you, circles, not moving, back and forth. You'll tell the pendulum what you want it to do. And then you will essentially go from chakra to find out what is either balanced just fine, overactive, or underactive. And there you go. You'll figure out what needs to be worked on, and then you can even do chakra meditations just for that. So not too hard of an issue to solve. But yes, your energy needs to be properly balanced right now. And remember, when our energy is balanced, it can really help out in a lot of ways, because sometimes we can confuse energy imbalances for when you feel scattered emotionally or mentally or body-wise, you feel all over the place. This is kind of like the underlying secret sleeper agent. So not too big of a deal. Now the Hanged Man. So it looks like you need to get really in touch with your subconscious and bring it to light and make it something that almost is louder than your consciousness. And you can exercise this in a bunch of different methods. Again, you can go for free to YouTube videos and kind of like get yourself in a state of like talking to your subconscious. Now the thing is, you can do subliminal messages for yourself and teach yourself things, but it's more about understanding what's going on in your subconscious. Sometimes people can do this by doing an observational meditation where they will sit there and allow their thoughts to go by and kind of be the viewer in order to look at it and slowly start to realize and be aware of your thoughts and be like, oh wow, my subconscious really just keeps putting myself down. I didn't know I was doing that. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But I would actually highly recommend, because Spirit keeps telling me about this game you can play. I want you to get a couple different objects that are the same. You could just get like a piece of paper. And on each piece of paper, I want you to write a couple of things that you're interested in. Very important things. Things that you maybe don't think are as important, some that you don't give enough attention to, and some that you're striving for all the time. And these can be goals, these could be mindsets, whatever they are. And I want you to have a friend mix them up, lay them flat on the table, have you turn around, and you have to instantly choose and pick only one or two. You know what I mean? And whatever you're going for gut-wise is going to say a lot about yourself and where your mindset is. There's no wrong answer, but you can be like, wow, if my gut is always moving towards money, then I must be saying to myself that I don't have it. I must be saying that it's something I need to achieve. I need to be aware of that. You know what I'm saying? And this is how you can slowly bring your subconscious to light, essentially. Subconscious is very much like reading between the lines kind of idea. Over here with the 10 of Pentacles, this is talking about you. Interestingly enough, I don't really get this a lot, but this is coming through strongly for you. You need to connect to your ancestors. You can do this through you could ask your dreams, you can ask your subconscious, you can wait for a sign from your ancestors, or you can literally go back and see if you can look into your family history of some kind, because it looks like whatever they were doing, somebody has done something before that's going to really resonate with you. And by connecting to that, it's going to help you connect to yourself, give you confidence that somebody has done it before, somebody with your blood has done it before, so there should be a certain level of confidence that you can do it. Do you see what I'm saying? And by building this confidence with this particular thing, it's going to help start to activate your intuition, because by simply knowing what it is that an ancestor, like you look at your ancestors, things that they've done, whatever you're resonating with, that is a form of your intuition. But it's not just about exercising your intuition through this. It seems like it's a key component. I think this is really interesting because there's different forms of healing with past life, and there's there's past ancestry healing. Sometimes we actually unintentionally repeat or go through similar things our ancestors have as a form of like working out karma. And remember, karma's not always bad. In fact, karma's not bad. Karma's just stuff we can't let go of. You know what I'm saying? So look at what your ancestors have gone through. Is there something you can help work out and basically release a lifetime of stuff that's been holding everybody back? And therefore also in turn connect to that intuition. You see what I'm saying? Over here, Three of Cups. I can see that you have some people around you that you probably should not be around. They don't seem like they have your best intention in mind. These are the type of friendship groups that I find often pop up with the Three of Cups that get new friends maybe every 6 months to a year. It's often because they do not personally feel fulfilled. They're kind of empty. And so they're looking for somebody who has this natural radiant light about them that they can connect to and find fun for the moment until they move on to the next person that they can essentially psychically drain in a way. Now, I don't get the vibe that they are energy vampires to point out, but I do want to say that they don't really care in the long run, like how you react to things or what you do. And it's kind of that idea of like you are the company you keep around you. It's not just for your happiness to not be around them. It's like if you're with other people that are loving and, also in trying to go in the direction that you're trying to go through, then that only makes sense that would radiate and amplify what you're trying to move towards. These people are the opposing concept of intuition. You know what I mean? They are only the ego, only the mind. You want to get away from these people. And then last, coming to life in reverse, which you have to give me a second. I'm just totally, I had it in my brain and I just totally blanked. Oh, yeah. Okay. So this is so easy peasy. This is kind of one of those so easy, so complex sort of forms of guidance. Essentially, this is when you are being told to get out of your own way and let your own internal spirit or intuition take over by not overthinking things. This is understanding that you are shifting into your intuition, and as you work on heavy things like energy and your subconscious and stuff like that, it's understanding that you don't need to constantly reassure yourself, is it going to be okay? Am I making the right decision? Think of it as like you've planted a seed, right? And every time you ask that question and need to check in with yourself and overthink, like, well, what do I do next? I can't just simply let everything just be as it is. Like, I don't know what to do next. That's the problem. So that's why I'm trying to be proactive. But the thing is, when you do that, you're essentially lifting up the flower or plant and you're trying to look at the roots and see if they've grown. But by in turn doing that, you're shocking the roots and kind of killing the plant, unfortunately. So you have to step back and just kind of go with the flow, because this is a card that pops up as a reassuring thing to say that when we come into our intuition and when we start these new stages in life, they can feel uncertain or unstable. But you have to have a certain form of belief and trust in order to let it happen. But here's the biggest thing this card says: time and patience and letting it be. This card suggests that you should focus on simpler things and just kind of chilling out, because you're going to allow your intuition to take more of a precedence as you give it room to breathe and exist. But as it comes into formation, it can feel like something you need to question and get a certain answer for. But that will come in time. Intuition will feel more certain. But for now, it's just a baby and you need to let it grow. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this reading as much as I did. If you did, please consider giving this video a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. I hope you have a lovely day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 4. Group number 4. Let's look at the steps you need to take to increase your intuition by looking at the cards. We've got Spark Upright, the Lovers Upright, the Fool upright, Queen of Pentacles upright, and Five of Wands upright. Oh, this is so sweet. This is a very sweet spread. Okay, we've got some merging of ideas. We've got some comfort and some stuff to shy away from. So let's start with the stuff to shy away from. So first, let's talk about the Five of Wands and what it represents. This, I feel like for like maybe 60% of you, this does refer to other people, but for the vast majority, well, actually 60% is a lot. Let me reverse that. 60% of you, it's internal. For 40% of you, it's with other people. That's how I want to say it. So it's about either an inner conflict within yourself or with other people. But let's talk about the idea. It's when you are discussing something with somebody else and they just don't want to budge from their idea. And it's too enticing of a conversation, so you just keep going back to it. You can't let it up. You both think that you're right. You're trying to convince the other one, and there just doesn't seem to be a compromise. This can be something you do internally, where you're like, should I do this? Should I do that? I don't know. I'm great. I'm bad. And you just keep going back and forth. And here's the main thing to understand. The reason why it's an obstacle and the reason why it's blocking you intuition-wise is, yes, you're not moving forward, but it's unproductive to begin with. No one's going to get anything out of the conversation or the idea itself. And in turn with that, it's very enticing to want to return back and engage in this sort of argument with either other people or within yourself. And this is essentially saying when you see that argument arising, either with other people or within yourself, that inner conflict, you kind of just need to just totally back away from it and not even give it any attention at all. Just get away from it. It's not going anywhere. You're not going to get anything from it right now. And honestly, it has nothing to do or benefit to help you with your intuition. Now, the Queen of Pentacles is super cute and a better energy to take on and something to consider if you're like, well, where do I put my energy? So the Queen of Pentacles is going to represent in this particular spread the idea of like love and wanting the best and feeling your best. And as you feel your best and you take care of yourself and you allow yourself to be wealthy in, knowledge, wealthy in love, wealthy in money, just feeling good about yourself, you in turn have this, if you're on this sort of path, you feel like you want to share this with other people. You're that overflowing with it. And you believe it's that infinite and endless within you. Why not share it with people? And because you understand the greater good of helping other people, and in turn them helping you and vice versa and all that positive jazz, it's just kind of like a never-ending bounty and puts you on a really positive mindset. So it's like, this is like fighting about your favorite TV show. And this is you connecting with, I want to be somebody who is able to know deep in their heart the answer. I want to be in flow with the universe. I want others to be in flow with the universe. I want to love myself. You know what I'm saying? It's like a totally different mindset. Think of it as like the greater good kind of idea. These are bigger ideas you're focusing on rather than the small insignificant details of life and who says what and chooses what and goes where kind of idea. Anyways, this supportive mentality is looking over and kind of helps foster everything else, which is going on here and is merging here. So the Fool card is super sweet and it actually gets replicated here. You can see the inklings of it with the hummingbird spirit animal. So the Fool card is somebody who believes that miracles and a positive ending is possible. And because they believe it, it in turn happens. So this is not just about being free-spirited and silly. It is, because when we have the hummingbird, this is the spirit animal that encompasses the ideas of the sweetness of life. That things that when we connect with these joys and this sort of happiness, it just leads to so much other good things. It's like our true happiness is where is by focus. Sorry, I'm so distracted by, I apologize if you ever hear me rambling. Whenever my neighbors walk by, I think they're listening in on me. It's super distracting. So if you hear me twist over my words, that's me trying to block out that idea of happening. Anyways, so from this wonderful spirit animal that's like super happy and effervescent. This sparks that free-spirited mentality, but that free-spirited mentality is leading to a positive perspective that's ultimately going to be essentially putting a pinpoint and saying, yep, this is how it's going to end. So it's about connecting and believing in the impossible, especially when you don't see it, to then allow it to happen. You know what I mean? And then the spark. This is so cute. This looks like you're going to achieve a lot of intuition by just giving some you time and really giving into creativity. This is implying that you have like a light within you, a spark within you, but it needs to be exercised and expressed through creative manner and activities, and by focusing on creative ideas and really finding yourself special and realizing you have that spark and expressing it and manifesting it even more. This is the merging effect of both somebody having this belief, but working on this great vibe and then bringing them together in the Lovers card and understanding how they can work together and benefit one another in order to create this sort of connection, as we can see over here. I know this looks like a little alien, but consider this connection the summoning of connecting to like the spirit world and the intuition. This is something really interesting with your particular spread. Yes, intuition can mean a lot of things. It really does. It does connect to psychic abilities, but it also does connect to the unseen world, your higher consciousness. A lot of people believe that the world that we're in now is an illusion, and that things like our dreams, or when, shamans take shamanic journeys for us and stuff like that, that's the real world. So by loosening your grip and having more belief and refocusing your priorities and pulling away from like the everyday drama, this essentially opens a door to you to that. I think there's a very good your intuition is ultimately guiding to this sort of experience where you get to in person travel to visit your guides. You actually get to in person get to see the other side and not just simply have inklings and knowings. So that's really cool. I'm excited that you're going on such a big journey, considering this is so cute and fun and silly. Anyways, if you enjoyed this reading, please consider giving it a like, comment, subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Have a lovely day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye!